Today on Zero to Awesome, well, we need to fix that. Welcome, and if you're just joining us, this is Sierra Terra, our 2002 Nissan Xterra that we are turning into an off-road camper. Now, Sierra Terra has a proprietary anti-suffocation feature, and part of that anti-suffocation feature is the windows going down, which they don't do very well right now. So today we're going to be taking our window motors apart and we're going to be fixing them for approximately $0. Now we'll get into exactly how we're going to fix our window motors in a minute, but first we got to get window motor out of the door. So typically with interior car panels, there's usually a couple screws and then a bunch of clips and everything just pops right off. And so in this specific car, we've got one screw in the cup holder that has removed itself somehow, and another screw right here behind the door latch. And with the screws out, then you just kind of start tugging. There you have door panel. And so this plastic piece right here is our weather barrier, and if the adhesive was still good, what it would do is keep water from getting inside the car whenever it, leaks in through the little window seal here. But this car has a nice water park feature, I guess. So we're going to peel back our weather barrier and find our window motor right there. So these 3 bolts are going to hold our motor on. Take those out, undo the clip for the power, and maybe it'll come out. Not gonna lie, it's been a while since I've done this, and I forgot that you typically have to remove the window track too. So what we need to do is maybe put a bolt or 2 back in our motor, lower our window down so we can get to the bolt that attaches the window to the track, and then we'll take everything out together, because the screws to remove the window motor from the window track mount are on the back, and I can't get a screwdriver in there. Okay, so we've got our window motor and window track assembly out of the car. These 3 screws right here hold the window motor to the window track. So we're gonna go ahead and take those off so we can... Actually, are we? We don't really need to get to that part. So the part that usually goes bad on these is this guy right here. So this is the electric window motor, and let's take it apart and tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so cover comes off, then you got this guy right here. He comes right out of there. And so this is your electric motor. You got some magnets in here. You have your wire winding things that whenever they get electricity, they need to turn into magnets too, and then they push opposite against these magnets, and that makes your motor turn. And what gives them power is these are called brushes right in here. And what can happen to your window motor when they get old is the brushes either wear away or these little things get filled with gunk. And this one actually looks not too bad. So I used to drive a 2004 Nissan 350Z, may she rest in peace. And those motors were designed so that this little hole right here was upside down and all this junk would fall into the motor, and these little slits right here would all get clogged up and filled with gunk, and the motor would just not work well. So about once a year, I would have to take the motor apart and clean it so it would work for another, year. And that's what we're gonna do to this motor today. So all we're gonna do is, really, this one doesn't look that bad, but we're gonna clean it up anyway. We're just gonna take some WD-40, spray it right on that black worn part there. Take a rag and just kind of clean it up. If you want to, you could use a little bit of sandpaper on it, but ours is not that bad, so we're just gonna do a little bit of cleaning. We are also going to clean out our brushes here. Oftentimes these will just pop out, but these ones, they have these nice little spring retainers in them, so they're not popping out on us. But you can, I don't know if y'all can see, it's really hard to see in there, but you can see they're worn, they got grooves all in them. So you can buy replacement brushes. I did not do that today, but what you can also do is just clean them off, and then typically they work better than they did. Yeah, we're getting some good stuff off of there. All right, so now our magnet, or our electromagnet, is clean. We're also going to clean off this grease on the worm gear here. This is what actually, whenever this spins, it drives some other gears down here, and they make the cable mechanism spin. That's what makes your window go up and down. I'm gonna put some fresh grease in there just in case the grease is old and gunky, which it is. And then you reinsert your electric motor thingamabob in there, being careful not to mash the brushes. Just kind of slowly work it in, and then if you need to, use a small screwdriver to pull the brushes back as you insert it. Is that what she said? Okay. Now the only tricky part is these magnets here are going to want to try and attach to this metal right here, and it's going to pull your motor out as you put the lid on, so you got to do it really fast. There you go. Screws back in. Okay, so now we know that our motor is clean, there's no gunk in there. What we can also do is re-lubricate our window track. So these typically have grease on them. You can see this grease is all gross and dried, and it's probably hurting rather than helping. So we're gonna throw a little grease on our track real quick, put this back in, see how it works. Actually, one thing we're gonna do before we put all this back together is these tracks that the window slides in, we're gonna take a rag and maybe some cleaner of some sort and make sure that it is clean in here, because that could also stop the window from sliding so well. It's a little bit dirty. So we're just gonna take a simple green, a rag, and just kind of go at it. And actually, we're gonna do one more thing. So every time I say we're gonna do one more thing, just assume we're gonna do more. So this window, actually, when it goes down, there's nothing on here right now. There's no motor, no track, nothing. It's just sliding inside these, I don't know, rails or whatever. It gets really hard to move. And so this car sat in a field for about 5 years with the windows rolled up. So I think this rubber got kind of stiff down here and stopped working so well. And so what I'm gonna do is probably put some grease in the window track too, and that might help us slide a little bit better. And so you wanna make sure whenever you're putting grease on rubber that you use a non-petroleum based grease, because petroleum grease makes rubber swell. So we're gonna be using dielectric grease, the same stuff you'd use on spark plugs. And this is silicone based, and it will allow our window to slide and not make the rubber swell up. Okay, so we took apart and cleaned our motor. We cleaned our window track thing. We cleaned our other window track things, and then lubed this, lubed that. Now we're just gotta put it back together and see if it works. I hope I can get this back in there. Okay, we're all back together, and let's see. Faster up. A little bit of slowness towards the bottom. That's way better than it was before. Like I said, this car sat for 5 years. The windows, they may just need to get used. So now that's done, we're gonna try a little experiment. I was gonna take the other side apart, do the same thing, clean the motor, all that jazz. Let's just try some grease and see if that works. So other side, this is how we're working right now. Kind of same thing. Slow towards the bottom. Eventually gets all the way down. And going up, we're not even going up at all. We'll give her a little bit of help there. Okay, grease is in. Let's see how we do. It's kind of better. It's not as good as the other side, and it still won't go up. So let's take this one out too and see what we can find. This one also doesn't really look too dirty, which makes me surprised they're doing as bad as they are, but we'll clean it off anyways. Re-grease gear here and re-grease this guy too. See what it does. Alright, everything's back together. Let's see what we got. Well, it's not the fastest, but at least it goes up and down now. So if you got a little bit of WD-40 and some grease, you can fix your window motors that aren't working or aren't working that well. Again, it won't last forever. You probably only have a limited amount of time, but if you are going to go buy a new window motor, look for one that has a lifetime warranty. That's what I eventually wound up doing on my Z, and every year when it broke, I just sent it in for a new one. So until next time, I'm just going to roll this up for a little privacy, because I can.